Hello, everyone. Welcome to Valiantys's Jira Work Management for All webinar. Thank you for joining today. I hope you find this webinar valuable and worthy of your time. My name is Jason Kidner. I'm going to be your tour guide for the next hour, showing you 5 real-life use cases of Atlassian products that apply to any type of team. I'm an enterprise solutions architect here at Valiantys, also a safe practice consultant and Atlassian certified professional. I am joined today by my colleague Brianna, who will be monitoring the Q&A area of the Zoom call, and she'll also be posting some helpful links into the chat. We have a very straightforward agenda today. I'm going to be going over some introductory thoughts, and then most of this webinar is going to be focused on, again, these 5 real-life examples of different processes and different Atlassian products and how we've helped work with various teams, various clients, and how they've found a lot of value in those. So, and then at the end, there'll be time for a Q&A session. So if you do have any questions, please put them in the Q&A section of the Zoom call, and I will do my best to answer them at the very end. So despite the name of this webinar, we're not just going to be talking about the Jira Work Management product. Over the next hour, I'd like to show you an array of tools and processes that will help you and your team work in a better way. So what are the core ingredients for a better way to work? So it's making work visible, having clear next steps in processes, making work collaborative, using flexible tools that change as quickly as your environment changes, and shifting your mindset from doing more work in less time to generating more value with less work. So as we walk through each of these examples, you're going to see these 5 ingredients really come out and be seen. Before we get into the tools, I do want to make a mention about people and processes and how they relate to tools. So we have this order of people, then processes, then tools. This is very intentional because people are foundational, right? For your team, for your organization, people are the most important thing. They're helping you achieve what you're trying to achieve. They're human beings, and that we're all trying to treat each other with compassion and empathy and work well together. So you have people as foundation, then that's followed by your processes that ideally are going to be focusing on value and collaboration, some of the stuff I just talked about with those ingredients for working better. And then lastly, you have tools. And these, again, are meant to be flexible tools that support and don't hinder your people and your processes. So tools can be incredibly helpful, but they can't solve your people or your process problems. And so this comes up over and over again with clients. We do our best to help with tools and also processes. And you're going to find that these Atlassian products are really great tools, but again, they ultimately can't solve your people and process problems. So I just wanted to kind of call that out, but they all obviously kind of fit together. So let's talk about the tool part here, and specifically Atlassian and their products. So Atlassian products are ubiquitous. They're likely already being used within your organization by some sort of teams or departments. We often work with business teams who are ready to purchase Atlassian products, and then they're surprised to find out that some other team in the organization already has a Jira instance stood up, or maybe there's multiple Jira or Confluence instances already being used somewhere in the organization. So from there, teams really just need to know how to customize the tools, and Atlassian tools are very customizable. They're pretty easy to stand up and use. There's a lot of different bells and whistles in them, and they're very inexpensive compared to other products out there on the market. And you typically don't need to go to your VP of procurement to start a licensing with them, especially in the cloud, where you can just really give a credit card and Atlassian will start to bill you monthly. It's as easy as that. So a couple mentioned about some of these tools. So Atlassian products, they're designed for teams. Again, they're meant to be collaborative, flexible, scalable. They're really meant to help engender those better ways of working that I talked about earlier. The different Jira products here, the Jira Work Management, Jira Software, Jira Service Management, these products are all meant to help plan, track, visualize work within various types of teams in your organization. And as you'll see in some of these examples I'm going to share, any type of team can benefit from any one of these products. Then we have Confluence. That's a collaborative wiki-style documentation tool. Again, going to highlight that here in a few of these examples, and you're going to see how it integrates really nicely with Jira and even other SaaS solutions out there in the internet. Then we have Trello here at the bottom. This is this is more of a like a Kanban, like a very basic work tracking tool that's free. A lot of people use it just with their own personal emails, but some companies, allow it to be used within a company email. And we can see how you'll see one example of how this can be tied back into Confluence. So again, a number of products. There are other products out there in the Atlassian ecosystem and plenty of other apps as well that we're not going to cover within this webinar. And we have other webinars that you can find out on our Valiantys website about some of the other products out there, and even more in-depth discussions and examples and even the configurations around these applications that I'm showing here. So the rest of this webinar is going to be focused on 5 practical examples of using these tools and some processes that go along with using those tools. And these examples are 5 real-life scenarios, real-life solutions that we've built for clients. And they all, again, are based on that better way to work, those better way to work principles that I discussed earlier. And I hope at least one of them will really resonate with you and your team, again, no matter what type of team you're on. So those 5 examples are going to be task management, project management, hiring or onboarding, service desks, and then finally documentation or the centralization of information. So first we're going to talk about task management. And you'll see a pattern here of kind of each of these. So who may have problems with task management? Well, that's everyone, every type of team. And what are some typical problems? Well, it's what do we have to do? What is our team working on? What do we have to do? And what's necessarily the priority of what we should do this work in? Another question problem is everything up to date? Can I trust the data here? And what's the source of truth? Where should I ultimately be looking at for the most up-to-date information? Then there's who is taking care of that? Which person on my team is responsible for that particular work item? Okay, and there's probably plenty of other problems related to task or work management. The solution here, one solution that I'm going to put forward here is central task management with multiple views. So we're going to be showing this live here in a moment. And the tool or tools that could be used, I'm going to show Jira Work Management, but you could also use Jira Software as well, which I'll be showing later on. So now I'm going to go into an instance. This is an instance of Jira. And I will say that this is a cloud instance of Jira. There's also a data center version of Jira that you can host on-prem. But this webinar is going to focus on all the cloud products offerings from Atlassian. So again, this is a Jira Cloud. This is just a demo instance. And I'm showing you initially this list of projects that we see here. We're going to be going into a number of them over the next hour. So first off, though, I want to go into one of the business projects. And business project here in Jira also means a Jira Work Management project. This one is called the accounting project. So a few things here. When you come into a project, you see a number of options here, a number of tabs. There is a summary tab. This just comes like an out-of-the-box dashboard for the project that you don't have too much customization around, but Atlassian has built this and provided for this in every work management project. So it has a few different widgets around the status and breakdown of the work in the project. Then there is a board tab. This is probably one of the most used features here, where you have a board where all the work that your team's doing is represented by these different cards on the board. And there's different what are called issue types in Jira. Most of the things that we see here are tasks, this blue checkbox icon. There's also epics, which is this purple lightning bolt icon. There's some built-in hierarchy, which I'll get to shortly. But this board is meant to basically show all the tasks or work items that are in a given status. So every work item in Jira, or what are called issues, has what's called a workflow that will show you basically what's the status of that particular work item. And so this board, each of the columns represents a different status. So we can see the work in to do, in progress, feedback, approval, and then ultimately getting to the done, the final workflow status. And these, so you can see at any given time, you can come out here, and as your team members are keeping these up to date, you can see, know exactly where something is in its workflow, and these can be moved around on the board from one column to the next. So that's one view of the work out here. Another view, which teams often really like, especially teams that are typically used to using spreadsheets, they can bring all those work items that they're currently managing in spreadsheets, bring them into Jira Work Management, and they can see them still in a list view, where they can see the grid, they can see all the columns which are called fields in Jira, and they can do inline editing, they can do sorting, filtering, and basically see all the work that's being tracked in this particular view. And then, as I noted earlier, there are different issue types. There is a built-in hierarchy within Jira, where epics is like the out-of-the-box top issue type in the hierarchy. And then tasks, things like tasks, stories can be created as child issues under an epic. And then you can even go further down underneath a task and create what are called subtasks. So you have this out-of-the-box 3-level hierarchy within Jira. This applies to Jira Work Management, Jira Software, or Jira Service Management. So, and you can even kind of go even up higher. That's for a whole other webinar, but I'll just kind of leave it at that for now. Within this project, we also have a calendar view. This is great. Again, if you have on your issues, you have start and due dates that are filled out, these fields that are filled out, and then those can be represented on the calendar, and things can be marked as overdue or potentially on time, things like that. So you can see that sort of view that can come in handy. There's also a timeline view. This is like a basic sort of roadmap Gantt chart view of the work. Again, this will be most useful if the date fields are being filled out, and then you can see how those play out on this sort of view. There are forms which basically allow your team to create like custom create screens, basically, that could be shared with other users within Jira that can be, yeah, you pretty much use like as an intake form. Again, it's basically going to allow those users to fill out fields on your issues within your project, and then those issues would then show up again on the board or in the list view, like to know how to then be worked as a team, to be assigned to users, and then to kind of move along the workflow. There's a number of other things I'm not going to get in depth on, a lot of different things we can talk about with any of these projects, but this is really meant to kind of show you one example of how you can track and manage tasks or work within Jira, in this case, in a Jira Work Management project. So a lot of really great options. And again, as you can see with all of these, you see lots of visibility. Everyone kind of knows who's doing what, and you can ultimately see where is your work at in its life cycle, in its workflow, as you're all ultimately trying to get the work to be completed or done. Okay, let's go back to our list of examples. So that's example 1, task management. The next example is project management. So who is this for? Well, PMO teams, HR teams, marketing teams, really any type of team who manages projects, which are typically most types of teams. So what is one of the main problems? So there's misalignment, there's delayed handoffs when multiple teams are involved with trying to deliver on a project. There's manual status reports that might just have this overhead and this busy work that people on each team are doing to try to get ready for the next meeting. There's missing information. Meetings that happen that might not need to happen. So the solution ultimately for this is making the work visible and also helping to automate the reporting. So when updates are made in one tool, the reports auto-generate or also have like real-time data. So you don't necessarily have to keep working on all these different status reports. You can really leverage the information that's already in your tools to have your reporting ready. So the tools that could be used to solution this, one could be Jira Work Management. Another is Jira Software. That's what I'm going to show you next. And then those tie-ins between Jira, the Jira projects, and Confluence. So we'll see how Confluence can be used for that real-life, up-to-date reporting. So let's go back into our Atlassian products. So for this, I'm going to go to another type of project. This is going to be the Marketing Project Management project. And this is a Jira software project. So, and you can see the look and feel is very different from a work management or a business project. A lot of the features actually now in the work management projects are starting to come into the software projects. So very recently, Atlassian has updated these projects to allow for calendars and list views. Those aren't showing here, but those are starting to come into software projects. So really, any type of team could use a software project. And there's even a lot more customization with the boards and some other features here than there are in the work management. So in this particular project, we have, again, tasks and we have epics. We see a pretty basic board here with basic workflow. But what I want to highlight here in this project is this project's meant to help with project management. And so the epic issue type is meant to represent the overarching project. And you can see there's a few epics out here. There's a project alpha, a project beta, project epsilon. So the projects are represented by the epic. And then underneath an epic, you can create child issues. So these tasks that we see here on the board, those are tasks meant to help achieve one of these projects. So when I come to this board, this is called a Kanban board in a software project. When I click on one of these cards, it opens up the view screen here. And so for this particular project, and again, this is an epic issue type, there are some very specific custom fields that we've added here, like background, business objectives, scope. These can all be customized. You can create as many custom fields as you need to track your work and to keep things up to date. So there's various fields out here for those sorts of data points. There's also fields here on the right-hand side around people, like who are the sponsors, who are the stakeholders, what are the dates, the target start, the target end dates, what's the priority, things like this. And then as we scroll down here in this view screen, we can see there's a child issues panel. This highlights various issues like the tasks that are meant to deliver and are needed to help achieve this project. There's even a task in here called a milestone to kind of act as that marker that would happen over the course of a project. So, and there's comments. There's a lot of great things you can do with these within Jira. I'm not going to go in depth here, but again, to highlight that Jira here is the source of truth for a lot of great information related to this particular marketing project and the issues needed to achieve it. So we're starting in Jira. That's where a lot of this concrete core information is located. And the user who is overseeing this, the project manager, can come in here. They can update these fields here. They can update the workflow to make sure it's in the correct status. And then in terms of status reports for your team, for executives, whoever is an audience and who has a stake in this project, Confluence can be used to give some real life up-to-date status reports. So I'm going to now go over into Confluence. This is a Confluence instance that's within the same Atlassian organization as the Jira instance that I showed. And so we have Confluence here. Confluence is similarly organized to Jira, where in Jira you have what are called projects that have the issues in them. Over in Confluence, you have what are called spaces. Those are the main containers for the documentation. And within a space, you have what are called pages. So this menu here on the left-hand side highlights all the different pages within this space. And pages can have parent pages. So there can be this hierarchy of pages that help to organize all the information in a given space. So what I want to showcase here is we have this area under this marketing space, that this space kind of goes hand in hand with that marketing project in Jira. And then there's a page out here, actually a page for each of those epics that I showed earlier that represent a given marketing project. There's a page that's been created to help, like again in real time, show you a lot of information about that project. So in this particular page, and again, this is just a mock-up, one example of how we've created some project status reports for other clients. So here we have a calendar. This is a Confluence or calendars for Confluence macro here that showcases different events happening, when people are off, things like that. Then over here you start to see the integration between Confluence and Jira, where we've brought in that one particular epic from the marketing project here, highlighting various things in this card here. And anytime there's an update in Jira, that update is going to be reflected here in Confluence with these, whether it be the progress or the status, the priority, who's assigned to it, that sort of stuff. So that's showing here. Then we scroll down, there's tables that are great for formatting and showing off lots of great information. Some of this information in this table is information that's been put into just Confluence. So some of these statuses, these are put into Confluence. So Confluence is the source of truth for some of this data, but then Confluence can also reach over into Jira, and you can see in real time various fields from the Jira issue that again represents the project. And so those can be represented real time in Confluence. As I scroll down, we can see other things where we can bring in various Jira issues. In this case, we're looking at some of those tasks that roll up to the epic that represents Project Alpha. And we can see current work. We can see completed work. Again, these are just different filters of the issues from that Jira project. You can scroll down even further, find what are the milestone issues that roll up to this particular project. What are some of the other key pieces of information or those fields over in the Jira epic? And again, when anything is updated over in Jira, you refresh this and this will be updated. So you don't have to worry about constantly creating brand new status reports. You can just come out here and your team can get a real live update. So, and you can attach files to Confluence pages and make comments, put labels, lots of cool things within Confluence. So this is one page for each project. And then just to kind of wrap this example up, there's a project dashboard that really acts as a summary page. And you can see it brings in all of the different projects here, and it brings in various fields, both from Confluence and then also from Jira. So again, at any given time, you can see a real up-to-date view on the status of any of the projects here, all summarized in one place. So that is our example for project management. Hopefully you're starting to see some really cool opportunities using Jira and Confluence together. Okay, we're going to take a quick commercial break and water break here. So a few things about Valiantys. So we are an Atlassian Platinum Solution Partner. In fact, we are one of only 3 global partners within the Atlassian ecosystem, and we are the largest global talent pool for Atlassian. We are, cover anywhere in the world. We have teams in North America, Europe. We have teams in APAC now, and we have a global team that, again, can cover any time zone out there. So anywhere in the world, we can help you. We also work with any product in the Atlassian ecosystem. We are an Atlassian first company. We are experts at Atlassian products. So whatever that product happens to be, we can certainly help implement it, do licensing for it, custom work related to it, anything at all, we can certainly help. We also, any of the platforms for any of those Atlassian products, we can help with. Again, cloud, private cloud, data center. So we can certainly help with that. We have specialization with cloud migrations. If you need to get to the cloud from your current data center or server instance, we have ITSM expertise. We have scaled agile or enterprise agility expertise. So really, any ways to use these projects or these different Atlassian tools, we've done it, and we have so much experience out there. And just to wrap this up, again, here's just a slide with some of the accolades and different awards we've received and different certifications, specializations we've had. So again, we are the #1 Atlassian Platinum Solution Partner globally. We'd love to work with you. If any of these examples that I've shown here kind of fit some of your pain points and you're interested in a solution for that and looking at Atlassian tools for that solution, please reach out to us. And my email will be shown later. I think Brianna is also putting it in the chat as well. We'd love to talk to you. Okay, we are now on to our third of 5 examples. So this example is focused on hiring or onboarding. So who does this relate to? Well, typically it would be HR teams, but it could be really any team that does onboarding, whatever that sort of work is that they're doing. So the problem here is teams often need unique processes that scale, and processes change over time and need to be flexible. And there often are unclear steps on what is the next step in onboarding and who is supposed to potentially help with that. And are there any other tools or services within your company that need to be notified or given heads up, given some lead time for those different steps in the process? The solution involves custom workflows, data validation. I will say, actually, this particular solution has to do with a unique client that we were working with. It was an insurance company, and they had, again, very unique needs. They had processes that were changing. They had they do onboard thousands of agents a year to help deal with various claims and things that their insurance company was providing. And so they needed to know how full their pipeline was, how to coordinate the onboarding tasks across multiple teams, how to sync the work they were doing with onboarding to external systems like an HIRS system. And they also had to meet insurance industry compliance. So again, maybe some of these things relate to a team like the team onboarding you're doing. So again, the solution at a high level was we came up with some custom workflows. I'm going to show those shortly. Those workflows included data validation. They also included a lot of automated, really cool automation to do task creation downstream, to help have integration with other tools, and also to set up some guardrails to make sure that the whole process and the tools met compliance needs. So tools that could be used: Jira software, Jira Service Management could potentially be used for this. So for this, I'm going to highlight a Jira software project and how we solutioned it for this insurance company. So coming back into our Jira project. This time I'm going to come into our onboarding project. This is a software project. We have a couple of boards out here. This first board, it's called the Tier 1 Onboarding Board. This is, again, to focus on hiring those Tier 1 agents. And so this issue type, you can clearly see with the icon 1. It's its own unique issue type here in this project. And each of these cards, each of these issues here that for this, this one issue type are meant to represent people that are in that onboarding funnel. And this board is meant to show exactly what phase or what status of the workflow, the onboarding process, is that person in. So I'm going to click on this one card for Florence. And this one, again, this example isn't so much about the various fields like in that last example for projects. We're really focused here on the workflow. And up here in this blue drop down, you can see training. This is the status of the workflow that this person's in. And when I click on this drop down, I can see various transitions that workflow can take. And I want to ultimately look at the workflow and say a few things about this. So again, workflows in Jira are meant to show the life cycle or all the steps that a work item needs to go through from intake or from initially creating it to delivering on it, whatever that last status might be. So within these workflows, you see these lozenges. These represent the status of where, in this case, a person or potentially a work item, what status are they in the workflow? And then the lines between these statuses, they're called transitions. And the transitions, as you can see, can go back and forth between various statuses. There can be universal transitions. And transitions are where Jira does the work for you, okay? When you do transitions, there's all sorts of things you can put into them. Things like validators that make sure various fields are filled out in order for you to move from one status to another status. So there's guardrails. There's also things called post functions that allow you to do a lot of really, really cool automation within a workflow. When it goes from one particular status to another, you can kick off other creation or the other work items to be created in this project or potentially in another project. You can set up custom integration with other outside tools when things move, when work items move from one status to the other. So a lot of really, really cool opportunities, customizations can be done with these workflows. So this particular one is for onboarding Tier 1 agents. And so these agents would start off as being recruited. They would go to scheduled, then training, peer mentoring, and then finally, good to go. They're ready to go and to be the agent. There are some other statuses, some other off exit ramps, if you will, where maybe an employee or employee withdraws. Maybe they're a no-show. Potentially, there just isn't the right fit here, and there's a termination or is needed. So these various paths that could happen with the onboarding process. And you can also see up here, there's a special transition up here that could take place at any point in the workflow where there's a request termination. And often these types of transitions are there to really employ some special automation that would act when you use this sort of transition. So a lot of cool opportunities here. Again, this really was a real life example we solutioned for an insurance company. So that's one example. This was for the Tier 1 onboarding. In this project, you can also have multiple issue types, and you can kind of highlight which issue types you want to see on different boards. So here's another board within this project for the Tier 2 agent onboarding. This board is different. You can see it has a lot of different or more columns. It's because the issue types here, this number 2 issue type, this Tier 2 issue type, has a much more complex workflow with more statuses. So, and those are all represented here on this board. And we click into one of these cards, we can see one of the people that's being onboarded, again, as a Tier 2 agent. Typically, Tier 2 agents would be more experienced, would need more training. And all of that all those different steps are shown here in this particular workflow where it is more complex. So it goes from recruited to scheduled. And then in this workflow, there's testing, passed, certified. So there's a certification process that these people need to go through. Then advanced training, peer mentoring, ultimately good to go with those different exit ramps if things just don't work out for a given person in this to become a tier 2 agent. So, and a lot, as you can see, a lot of different paths. Things may not always be linear, and there could be some ways to jump around the workflow. Or you can just do a very wide open workflow where you can just go from one status to the next and jump around as needed. But the idea here, again, is you can do a lot of validators, a lot of automation within workflows, and use them, again, for this onboarding process. And you can hopefully get the vision that these workflows could, every work item in Jira has to have a workflow, and they can be very, very basic, very simple, or a lot more complex and very powerful, as you can see here. So again, in addition to the workflows, there's just this great visibility with boards and then other fields you can have on these issue types that can help with the overall working better to onboard people in a more quality way, where everyone knows what's happening, where people are, and there's automation to help with the the day-to-day tasks that just need to happen to bring more value to the overall process. All right, we are down to 2 more examples. The next example we're calling service desks. So who does this example apply to? It could apply to HR, marketing teams, facilities, legal. You typically think IT. Really anyone, any team out there that is handling requests from either some other team, other people within the organization, those internal customers, or or your external customers. That might be more what you think about when you think service desks. It's for people outside of the company to put in their questions or their requests, but service desks can also be used very, very powerfully for internal customer requests as well. So really any team that handles requests, and most teams are usually working with other teams outside of themselves and often function as some sort of service team. And the problem here is there's no clear prioritization of work. There's multiple channels for intake for the work. Like there could be emails coming into your team. Your boss says, hey, such and such needs help with such and such. Phone calls. If you're working in person, could be chatter at the lunchroom or in the hallway about, hey, I really need help with this. Can you help me with this? Well, how does that even get entered? How does that get prioritized? Who is working on that? Which person on our team is meant to help with this particular request? So it's not all loaded up on one person over here who might be the quote unquote expert on the team, but that the load is spread out and everybody's empowered and given the knowledge to help to handle these requests. So a solution, again, at a high level is a service desk with that has a clear intake forms, that has a prioritized queue for the team handling those intake requests, that has automatic updates back to the requester. They can always know what's the latest status and allow for those back-to-back communication between the customer and the agent handling it. And then self-help knowledge articles that could potentially help to deflect the need for a service ticket. And that can ultimately help both your customers and even your support team, whatever type of team that might be. So the tools that we're going to show here are Jira Service Management, which again is that Atlassian product that's really meant to bring in the service desks, to bring in a portal and the queues and all the things that can help a service team. And then also Confluence, and we'll show you how Jira Service Management works very tightly with Confluence for that knowledge, those knowledge articles. Okay, going to come back into our cloud instance. So in this case, we're going to be focusing on a service desk. And before I really show you the behind the scenes as an agent, I want to show you the view from a customer, whether that be an internal customer or an external customer. So this is a portal or a help center, if you will, like a front page that comes with Jira Service Management. You won't get this with Jira Software or Jira Work Management. This portal only comes with Jira Service Management. And so I can see this is this opening help center. There's the ability to search for help articles out here right at the top. And so these are kind of actually highlighting various request types that you can find request forms out here. So you can get some help there. As you scroll down, you can see different portals, and each of these portals is represented by a different Jira Service Management project. And for this one, I want to highlight this HR service desk. But you could have a service desk again for facilities, for legal, for anything that could potentially come up where a team needs to handle some intake. So let's go into the HR service desk. When you come into these service desks, they're organized around request types. You can have one type of request, or you can have many, as you can see here. And we even see there's some knowledge base articles, related resources. Again, that's pulling in Confluence pages and using the Jira Service Management portal as a window into various articles over in Confluence. So for this, let me show you one example of a form that's somewhat complicated. Let's go to employee onboarding. So yeah, this is one example of some of the great options you have in creating forms with various types of fields. You can have select lists, issue picker fields, things like that, date fields. There's a conditionality you can build into these where if a yes or no is picked, then you can then highlight another field that needs to be filled out. So a lot of opportunities to create these forms. So here's one example, again, of a more complicated intake form. I'm also going to show you what it looks like to actually submit one. I'm going to go to a more simple request type called questions for HR. So here, this is very basic. It's just what's your question or request, and then a description. And you can see this red star means that it's a required field. So here I'm going to say, need help getting a new computer. Okay, this might not be the best place to ask this, but that's the example I'm going to use. And notice as I fill out this summary, Jira Service Management is looking in Confluence to find, is there any article over there that has some keywords that would relate to, that would help this user to know how to do this so they don't have to submit this ticket. So it's going to suggest articles. And then down here, I'm just going to fill out a basic description. And then I'm going to send this in to this particular HR service desk project. And notice here as a customer, I then see that this ticket has been submitted. I can see what I did. I can see its status. I can share this with other users as well. And then any updates that are made to this by the agent, and whether it's a status, whether there's a comment back to me, those are all going to be highlighted here. I'm also going to get updates. I'm going to get an email sent to me to keep me up to date. And I can also interact with the agent. So I'm not just, once I submit it, it's not like I can't keep interacting. So you can keep interacting through commenting back and forth. So it's a lot of great features here. So, and I can, again, see in a given portal, I can see all the different issues created by me or those that were shared with me, things like that. So I can see those all out here. So that's the customer viewpoint. Now I just want to then click onto this and go open the curtain up to see what it looks like to be an agent, if you will, to be one of the people receiving these, on the team receiving these requests. So now I'm back into the HR service desk. I'm going to open up one of the queues that's been set up in this project, which is really just a filter of the issues that are coming in. And so I can see there's a number of these that are coming into this service desk. And as I scroll down, let's see, there's a lot out here. So as I scroll down to the bottom here, I can see the one I submitted. And when I click on this, we'll see what an agent would see. So typically, a lot of automation opportunities can be built into these service desk projects to help auto assign tickets, to help maybe update other fields based on some field that was filled out on the intake form. But I see a lot of information. I see the information that was shared via the portal originally. Some of that could have been fed into these other fields here on the right, or some automation could have updated these. I can look up knowledge base articles as an agent. That'll take me again over to Confluence. I can also add internal comments back and forth with other team members, or I can reply to the customer. That's again how you can update and send messages back and forth to customers. You can see here, just I hadn't noted it yet, but there's a number of things. This one icon here is the Atlassian Intelligence icon. So Atlassian is building in a lot of AI into their tools, especially Jira Service Management, that can help with canned responses, that can help just improve the writing back and forth with customers, that can help with various things within Jira Service Management. So again, hopefully you can see that having that intake form, again, no matter what type of team you are, you could have this, you could have your own set project that you're handling these, and then these potentially, they could be used to help create issues in another project that maybe another team needs to help work on these, and these issues get linked to issues in another project. And so like a software team might need to be involved to help with updates that come in here. So a lot of great opportunities. Again, we are specialists in ITSM processes within JSM, and we can certainly help you if this is something that you think could really benefit your organization. Okay, we are down to our final example. This is centralized knowledge. So this is something that really applies to any type of team out there, no matter what you're doing. So yeah, every team, every organization is going to have a knowledge base. They're going to have things that just come up in the course of work that users need to do their jobs. Teams need to know to share and to work well together. Just examples that come up that run books, playbooks, you name it, that need to be shared and hopefully to be easily found by the users that need to find them. So again, problem is, where do I find the information, right? Most companies have lots of different places for information. Most companies have Google Drives or Microsoft, SharePoint, or people obviously have stuff on their computers, various tools out there. Most enterprise level companies, I forget the number, but it's a lot. There are dozens and dozens of products that companies are using. So information spread all over the place. And is that information up to date? How can I tell it's up to date? What's the latest place to look for? What's the source of truth? So the solution again is a central organized portal for knowledge. And I say portal there, meaning it might not be the repository of all that knowledge, but it's a portal. It's meant to be able to share very quickly where to go to find a given piece of information. And the tool that I'm going to highlight here to solution this is Confluence. So let's go back into Confluence. And in this case, I'm going to stay in this marketing project. So when somebody would come into this marketing project, whether it's the marketing team or some other team that needs information from the marketing team, they can come in here. There's a landing page, often called a preview page, that this has been built with a couple of different what are called macros. Lots of macros here with Confluence. Going to just kind of show you some of the opportunities to build out pages that can be really helpful. So this shows recently updated pages here, shows a whole tree of pages that you can look through. But I want to focus down here on this, starting down here in the content. So the team page. This team's created their own welcome page, if you will, to say, talk about who they are, show latest updates within their space. Then there's this where to find us. Here's some just quick links that, again, don't point to other pages within Confluence. They point to other websites out there on the internet. So this page itself is a portal. Here's where you can find this information about us. So go here, go here, go here. So you can find out more about the team, who's on the team. Here's our calendar, when people are taking off, when we have special events coming up, things like that, releases, what have you. Then we have a frequently used resources. Again, this is just a portal of links, smart links, various links out to potentially other pages that are being curated and created in Confluence, but they could also be to other places. So, but this again is a portal. It's a signpost in the middle of nowhere to say, hey, this is where you go for this. This is where you go for this. Come here and we will help you know where to go. So that's one example of a portal page. I showed you earlier the project pages, the dashboards, and how there's a lot of tight integration with Jira. Let me go down further. There's meeting notes. There's many, many different templates that come out of the box with Confluence, but you can also create your own templates. So there's meeting note templates that have tasks and will summarize a lot of the work being done as your teams are taking meeting notes. Then there's a lot of great smart linking between Confluence and other SaaS products. So here's an example of one of those. So there's a product plan page, and this product plan page doesn't have content in Confluence. It has a link out to a board in Miro. And because Confluence has these really tight smart link functionality, that Miro board is being shown inline in the Confluence page. So I don't have to jump over to Miro. I can adjust this if I have access into Miro. I could come in here and make updates and move things around within Miro, or I could use this potentially on a team meeting and kind of highlight things right here. And users can come in here, maybe who aren't Miro users, but they could see that board and they could see the visualizations being created. So that's one example of that. Another example is this trade show page. And this trade show page happens to have, as you can see here, it has a Trello board. So I've inserted a Trello board, and this can be used dynamically. So this is our team getting ready for a trade show. These are some of the tasks out here, just using a Trello board to represent those. And so I can move these from one column to the next in Trello, even though I'm in Confluence. So again, some really cool opportunities to bring in links from other tools, and those can be used seamlessly within Confluence. Finally, there's a page that has some integration with Google. You could also have integration with Microsoft projects, other projects out there. Or if Confluence doesn't have a macro or an integration, there are hundreds of different apps on the Atlassian marketplace that could be brought in to potentially help integrate your Confluence with other apps out there. So here again is, I can see inline a Google Sheet. I can see inline and make edits to a Google Doc. So again, there's real-time updates. I can see things real-time here within Confluence without having to go around to all sorts of other different places. Maybe I have no idea in Google Drive where this particular sheet is, but I can see it here. I can get to it even through here. So again, some great opportunities to use Confluence as a portal and even as a wiki. A lot of vendors out there in the Atlassian ecosystem use Confluence as their wiki. You go there, you find out all the information about their products. We've seen that used a lot. We use it internally here at Valiantys for our own knowledge base, our knowledge sharing. So it's really, really nice and very helpful. So that is a wrap on our examples. We have a few minutes left. I will look at the Q&A very shortly. I do just want to highlight that I did miss one thing going back to that project management piece. I did want to highlight here that there is a newer app or a new product, I should say, within the Atlassian ecosystem called Atlas that is free. Again, this is just in the cloud, But Atlas has the ability to create what are called projects. These are different than Jira projects, but these are meant to kind of really help with that project management. Again, Confluence is great too. Atlas could be another opportunity if you don't necessarily want all those integrations with Jira and all those visualizations you can create on a Confluence page, but you can have this kind of focus and I'll show you some of the opportunities here. So I've created a project alpha similar to that, related to that epic that was in that marketing project. So when I come into here, I can link that particular epic from the marketing project here as the work being tracked for this Atlas project alpha. But within Atlas, these projects, you can give real life updates. You can say, you can put real life updates like put in here, still working well. And so I can post this. I could potentially even change the status of this. This again isn't the Jira status. This is an Atlas status, but it can reflect real time what's happening. So again, this takes the place of creating those meeting notes or those status updates. Things can happen real life here, and many different people can collaborate in here. And I can post this. So this will be a new update. You can put in learnings around what's happening within this project. You can create risks. You can create decisions. There's also an opportunity over here as part of Atlas is something called goals. So you can create goals out here, and you can link in these goals to your Atlas project. And I will say that the goals out here within Atlas, they're also Atlassian is starting to bring these into Jira proper, where you can start to connect goals out that are going to be out here in an overall Atlassian site to other work items within Jira. So that's where things are headed. That there were some announcements made about that at Atlassian Teams last month. So this is just another possible way to go to help with project management. Okay, we are almost out of time. Let me check on the Q&A. Okay, so one question that's come up here is, do you offer training on the tools that you showed today? And yeah, the answer is yes. We have a lot of training opportunities for all the Atlassian products. You can go out to the Valiantys website, which I think Brianna is going to post in the URL for that. A lot of opportunities. We have public classes for Jira and Confluence and Jira Service Management. Let me go down here. Also put this screen up here in case you want to know how to reach out to me. But we do have, a lot of training opportunities. We have 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, different depending on the product and what's covered. We also have a lot of custom training opportunities for Jira Service Management, for Jira Confluence. We have Atlassian kind of user academies to just help your users get an overview of Jira and Confluence. Various app trainings that we're starting to bring in. So yes, if it's related to an Atlassian product, if we can do a training for it, we have many off the shelf, but we could also certainly curate one for you as well. And we have webinars again on Thursdays for a lot of these products I showed you. There are also recordings of those out on our YouTube channel as well. Okay, that's the question we had today. So thank you for that question. Thank you again for tuning in to this webinar. And again, if you need any more help or want to follow up on anything I talked about today, please email me at jason.kidner@valiantys.com. You can also scan this QR code, go out to my LinkedIn profile. You could message me out there, and I'd love to talk with you more. So again, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully this was valuable for you, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.